the life of any politician, there's always that dreaded moment that brings headache with it. Something said out of turn, some revelation, and so on. It is even more so during an election period. During the election period, in the run-up to an election, especially that of the president, you can say one thing and you mess all your chances. In 2016, there was the utterance by Hillary Clinton when he referred to Trump supporters as a basket full of deplorables. It really ate into her following, into her votes, into her credibility. For William Samoei Ruto, the headache is just about to begin. Sometimes it is what you have said. Sometimes it is things that are happening elsewhere. Let's begin with what is happening in Kirinyaga. Kirinyaga is a small place. The players are small players at the national scene. However, they have a bearing on national politics. For William Samoei Ruto, the headache begins in Kirinyaga. He must have dreaded that moment when there will be infighting. And why should he really be worried about the infighting around and on the mountain? Because when you have your mainstay, your main following, your main basket, your main constituency being foreign, so to speak, for example, if Raila were to have his main following, his main base outside Nyanza and Western, he will always have to approach that following, that constituency, with a lot of care, with a lot of sensitivity, because your own you can handle. So for William Samoei Ruto, his main base is Mount Kenya. So to William Samoei Ruto, what happens on Mount Kenya, around Mount Kenya, in Mount Kenya, should completely concern him and even worry him. So when you look at Kirinyaga, you begin to see the ugly head of infighting that will give him a headache, that will bring trouble his way. You may think the players, like I've said, are insignificant at the national level. But then you'll be wrong. Because viewed on our own, Anne Waiguru or Ngirishi, these are minor players in national politics. But in terms of where that is taking place, in terms of the fact that William Samoei needs the entire Mount Kenya region unrivaled to be his, that means a lot. So you see Purity Ngirishi fighting with Anne Waiguru. Let's be objective. Let's even be very generous. Let's say Anne Waiguru wins the gubernatorial vote. Let's say Ngirishi loses. We are being very objective, very generous to the other side. But let's ask ourselves, are we saying that on top of losing the seat, Ngirishi, who in her own words, and remember it's coming from a politician, who in her own words has invested significantly, materially, financially. When a politician says that, and Purity Ngirishi comes with deep, deep pockets, you can imagine perhaps what she has spent. When she speaks with the bitterness you can see, are you telling me that on top of losing to Anne Waiguru, or whoever it is, she will also deliver 0 votes away from William Ruto? That is stretching too far. You'll have a problem convincing me that if Ngirishi stands on her own, away from UDA, remember she need not necessarily go through Jubilee. Because there are all these small parties, and I'll come to that, and the impact they have on the mountain and to the Ruto popularity and vote on the mountain. This, she could come with Usawa Party, Mwangi wa Iria, Chama cha Kazi, Moses Kuria. She could come with the Service Party, Mwangi Kiunjuri, and a host of these other parties that would majorly be brought on board to destabilize UDA and to paint UDA as a challenging party. So are you telling me if she stands, she would lose and deliver also nothing away from Ruto? Like I've said, that's not possible. That's not politics. Are you also telling me if Purity Ngirishi, woman rep, aspiring gubernatorial candidate, teams up with Kibisho and the rest, they are not able to chip away votes from William Samoei Ruto? That is headache for Ruto. Because from where I sit, when the chips are down, it's not so much a matter of who is going to be the governor of Kirinyaga. It is simply a question of how much damage will the infighting in Kirinyaga cause Ruto's campaign. How much will that infighting affect Ruto's campaign? That is the question. And that is what matters. And that is what I'm calling trouble and headache for William Samoei Ruto. You can detour that across the mountain. You will go to other counties. The game will be played at gubernatorial level, at constituency level, at MP level, and the other two levels, where there will be people competing for the UDA ticket because ostensibly it is the hottest ticket. It's the most beautiful girl. And every young man will be clamoring for this girl. And there will be fierce fighting. Remember, there are those like Purity Ngirishi, those like Kimani Ichung'wah, Rigathi Gachagua, Ndindi Nyoro, Alice Wahome. Those who think the ticket is theirs as of right. And indeed it should be. Supposing they are given direct ticket, what headache will that cause to? What damage? But supposing UDA is a democratic party, we are told, they are subjected to nomination, that they must fight these things. They must fight newcomers who in their thinking, and perhaps they would be right, have not contributed even a quarter of what they have contributed to build William Samoei Ruto around the mountain, to build UDA, to strengthen UDA, and they come to compete. Now this is politics, and this is headache. Some of these competitors, some of these fighting established figures within UDA in the mountain will be people who will have been sent and enabled, financed, if you wish, just to cause trouble. Now you can begin to see the headache I'm talking about. To compound this for William Samoei Ruto is a hit that has been generated by the advances made by Raila Odinga on the mountain, by the boldness of Raila Odinga, by the support he's getting from community leadership. Most recently, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, community leadership in terms of the elders, joining the other leaders. This is generating sufficient heat and directed at Ruto, makes him speak out of turn. Trouble for him. Speaks with anger. The anger is evident. And as an analyst, I can see that anger is not just natural. That anger comes from the pain of seeing certain developments, from the pain of seeing that what he had assumed to be his for the taking, what he had assumed was unassailable, what he had assumed was not open to any attack, he would be as shocked as around the beginning of the 5th century AD, when and the unbelievable happened in Rome, and the eternal city was under attack. The unbelievable. The Roman Empire was not just under attack, but the eternal city, save Rome, was under attack. This is what is pushing Ruto into anger. And in anger, trouble for him, you begin to say things that annoy the constituency, which you must have at all costs, the Mount Kenya constituency. Yes, headache is beginning for William Samoei Ruto. You are in Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and you say bad things about the leadership. Muthomi Njuki may be a small governor if you think. I know otherwise. You think you can scoop the entire Tharaka Nithi and you can say anything you want about their governor. Yes, you may be right. You have the votes there. You may be right, he's not as popular as your governor designate or gubernatorial candidate there. But you'll be wrong in assuming that you'll take all the votes from the Tharaka Nithi, put on your bag, walk away whistling as you insult Muthomi Njuki. That is not politics that I know. No, no, no. Out of the anger, you'll be in Meru and you'll insult and say bad things about Kiraitu Murungi. Yes, you may be right that Kiraitu Murungi cannot take the Meru people today to Raila. That he may not remove the Meru vote from you, William Samoei Ruto. You will be right. I will support you because you are right. But you will be grossly wrong to imagine that you can insult a community leader of the stature of Kiraitu Murungi and not hurt the Meru feeling. You'll be wrong. No, you'll be wrong. Yes, you'll be wrong. You can have all the votes of the Meru people. But to say bad things about Kiraitu Murungi, a man the people consider their spokesman, their leader, a man who can point at myriad things he has done for the Meru people, you will be completely wrong. He may not take the votes from you. But, again, very objective, to imagine that that same Kiraitu Murungi will walk away with nothing when the chips are down on the 9th of August, 2022. Walk away with nothing as you walk with a Meru bags, votes in the bag, and insult Kiraitu Murungi as you whistle away into State House. That's daydreaming. By the time you wake out of the dream, you realize that it would have been much, much better not to have underrated Lee Kinyanjui in Nakuru. That, yes, you may have all the votes in Nakuru, but the moment you say bad things about Lee Kinyanjui, trouble begins to brew for you. That's where your headache begins. And to imagine that with all the connections as governor, with all the connections as a politician, that Lee Kinyanjui will have no impact on the Nakuru County vote. That again is daydreaming. So trouble and headache for William Samoei begins on the mountain. And look no further than Kirinyaga. And cascade that down to smaller places. And you begin to see that because of the hit directed at William Samoei Ruto, because of the anger that causes in him, he will begin to speak out of turn. And every politician dreads that moment when the headache begins because he has said something out of turn that then destroys what was otherwise a smooth campaign that was delivering the presidents for them, for example. That, for William Ruto, is the headache. It's not too late. Not too late. But he must begin by appreciating that the kind of thing that's happening in Kirinyaga will ripple into the mountain. And he must be prepared for it. But the strategy from his opponents is to ensure they generate so much heat. He becomes so angry. He speaks so badly. He speaks so out of turn that he says the things he said and the occasion what happens. And that develops a headache for him that he has to sit under Mugumo tree to nurse his headache as his opponents gather the votes on their way to State House.